McCurdy seemed to be a man who lived with one foot in the grave. It seems too like he might have had more fun dead than he ever did alive. McCurdy was born in the state of Maine in 1880, but moved to the Midwest at age 20 and became something of a drifter. He had a fondness for hooch and a hard time holding down a job, so he decided to give the Army a try. During his stint in the military, McCurdy developed a fondness for nitroglycerin demolitions, or blowing stuff up. He thought it'd be a handy skill to have, particularly in his next line of work, which he planned to rob banks and trains. But unfortunately, McCurdy never quite figured out the formula for this, which led to disastrous results. While trying to rob a Pacific Express Company train, McCurdy went a little too heavy on the nitro and ended up melting some $4,000 worth of silver into a big metallic blob. A final miscalculation would end up costing McCurdy his life. In October of 1911 near Oklahoma, the outlaw and his cohorts attempted to rob another train after hearing word it was carrying $400,000 in cash. True to form, McCurdy mixed up the train schedules and ended up working over a passenger train instead. Their full take for this bounty was 2 jugs of whiskey, a revolver, a coat, and the train conductor's watch. That sure would be embarrassing. McCurdy returned to the ranch where he'd been staying, knocked back a couple of strong ones, and fell asleep in the hayloft, not realizing that the police were hot on his trail. Later that night, McCurdy was killed in a shootout. His body was taken to a nearby funeral home. The owner embalmed the body with an arsenic-based preservative used back in the day to keep the dead intact while searching for next of kin. And besides, the funeral director wasn't about to bury the remains until he was paid. When it became clear that no one would be coming to claim the body, the crafty undertaker concocted a plan. He would turn McCurdy's corpse into a money-making exhibit on display. So he dressed the lifeless body, shoved a gun in his hands, and propped him up in the corner of his funeral home. Kinda morbid, but curiosity seekers nonetheless came from miles around to gape at the bandit who wouldn't give up. Each person placed a nickel into McCurdy's dead mouth. The attraction became so lucrative, the funeral director refused to part with his cadaver cash cow. That was just the beginning of McCurdy's after-death travels. In 1916, a couple of guys contacted the local sheriff, claimed to be McCurdy's long-lost brothers, so they got permission to take custody of the body and have it shipped for a proper burial. In reality, the men really ran a traveling carnival, and thus the strange odyssey of Elmer McCurdy's corpse began. In 1922, down in Texas, the sideshow curiosities were sold.
Plenty of time to see the sideshow before the matinee goes on.
McCurdy's body ended up being sold and traveling as a wax replica. McCurdy's body had now been on the earth, longer dead than it ever had been alive. Now for over 60 years, it had been being passed around as a prop. In 1933, it fell into the hands of Hollywood director Dwayne Esper to promote his B movie, Narcotic. The corpse was exhibited in the lobby of theaters, represented as a dead dope fiend to demonstrate the dangers of drugs. But McCurdy's posthumous career of traveling the countryside and acting was not over yet. Other stops included haunted houses, an amusement park near Mount Rushmore, and even another low-budget horror flick. He was included in an appearance in She-Freak, 1967. Production crew of the hit television show The $6 Million Man was filming on the set. A prop guy was checking out a mannequin inside the funhouse. When he attempted to move the mannequin, imagine his surprise when the mannequin's arm snapped off, revealing human bone. Though no longer in the best shape, you can see here in this photo where the arm was broken off, and the being that had been Elmer McCurdy weighed less than 50 pounds now. The corpse ended up in the coroner's office where an autopsy was performed. The examination did offer some clues. Among them, the body was that of a human male who had died of a gunshot wound to the chest. The bullet that caused his fatal wound had been removed during the original autopsy, but the bullet jacket remained. It revealed the era in which the mystery man had been killed. The real discovery was found lodged inside the mouth, a 1924 penny, along with ticket stubs to the Museum of Crime. That allowed officials to finally trace his identity. As word spread, numerous funeral homes called the coroner's office in LA, offering to give the remains a permanent home. But the officials decided to hang on to the body in case a living relative came forward to claim it. Apparently, that wasn't going to happen. A representative from the Indian Territory Posse of Oklahoma offered to let McCurdy's body be buried in Summit View Cemetery, Guthrie, Oklahoma, ironically next to another train robbing outlaw named Bill Doolin. Concrete was poured over the casket before the gravesite was sealed, so these two drifters aren't going anywhere anytime soon.